Welcome once again to Edutainment for Us. We are here for you, and we are focused on information that is important for us and our nation. So, of course, to start with, it's this saddening moment that actually shows us the looting and process that is happening in Kenya. And of course, even though there has been a target on two institutions that have finally been hunted down, the reality is that so many people are looting in Kenya. And maybe just few will be targeted, but the creme de la creme are the main cause of what we are seeing in our country. So a habit, or rather custom, of stealing has become part of our nation, with people stealing left and right. The reality is that, as I told you earlier, even when we talk to young children and ask them whether corruption is good or bad, because majorly in our country, people consider corruption in terms of stealing. Let's say the aspect of fraud and money laundering and things to do with looting. That's majorly where corruption is actually treated as such. The corruption of manners and what have you is not focused on much. And if you want to really testify that, go find out by asking anybody what corruption is. They'll talk to you about deals. Maybe they'll tell you about bribery. They'll tell you about um, swindling of money, money laundering and such processes, but they'll not mention other forms of corruption which happen in political or social realm. So the reality is that in Kenya, many people are making quick money through shortcuts, and one of the shortcuts is corruption. It's a saddening moment, actually, to realize that people are working so hard and they can't put food on the table. However, there are few people who are just looting left and right. And to say the truth, even though we have seen the recovery of 5.5 million shillings by EACC from the sports department and lands department, the reality is that almost all departments, including Ministry of Health, we've seen that, and I don't know why they never brought to books. When it came to the Ministry of Health, we just found that we had silence. And this is a bad signal, because it means that there are those people who loot and they are scot-free, while those who loot, there are those who loot and they are maybe handled. I don't seem to actually target to protect anybody in line with the aspect of looting. But then how I wish that they would actually universally deal with the people who are stealing or looting, because at the end product is that these people create a way in which we have a disparity between the poor and the rich in, a way that we cannot measure. Normally, someone should work through a process to get to where they have to. But unfortunately, it's happening that in Kenya, there are people who can sleep and work the next day and they have all that they require. While else there are those who will work all their life up to retirement, but they'll never get what they want. Now, of course, I'll be talking about housing and what housing really is if you research into it globally. But for now, let me focus on aspects of craft. Now, why are people embracing the aspect of embezzlement of funds? The embezzlement aspect has become one of the ways that people quickly become rich. And therefore, even when we see people campaigning for positions in Kenya, or even at the level of institutions, like, why do people want to be principals? Why do people want to be maybe managers? Why do people want to be in the government, let's say even the county governments? The simple answer is people have realized that once you step there, you have shortcuts to acquire money, and therefore looting has become a very focused effort that anybody who gets to institutions and maybe handles money is actually focused towards. Anyway, yesterday we had EACC actually bringing out a report of what they have been doing in the last 1 month, and whatever they brought out as information was that they have been able to retrieve 5.5 million shillings, 13 vehicles, and $500 million in government securities. And of course, I said that's good for them, but I believe maybe the money that was looted is even more than that, because if you're going to get money stashed somewhere, I'm so sure that those who go and arrest may not give or hand over the entire money. Because you cannot tell me 13 vehicles are 500 million in government securities, but the only cash money that has been retrieved is 5.5 million. That one, I really suspect there is something folly there. But anyway, let's get to watch what has been shared and analyze this. Actually, we are here to do the analysis and make you understand the reality about the culture of stealing. The culture of stealing has been officially made an aspect that is sanitized in the society, because when people see an individual with property, all they say is, wow. They don't want to see how somebody got there. The other day, I saw a YouTuber, a very popular YouTuber, saying that what matters currently is money and not even education. And I looked at her and said, all right, you may be saying this, but if you knew what your statements means out there, it would actually discourage even the students from being in school. The reality is that education is not equal to money, but it's very important. If kids stop going to school and they begin hunting money, what will happen of our country? So this mentality of people thinking that it's just about money and education does not matter, and sometimes they downplay elites. While you go for master's degree or a PhD, they ask, why are you wasting money? Anyway, let's get to check on this news before we proceed.
During the coordinated operation in Nairobi, Nanyuki, Machakos, Kiambu, and Nyeri, investigators recovered 5.5 million Kenya shillings in cash, 13 motor vehicles, 28 land title deeds, and details of 37 bank accounts. The seized assets held at EACC are expected to serve as key evidence probe into embezzlement of public funds. The Ethics and Audit Commission EACC on Wednesday morning first raided the home of Otis Mutwiri Nturibi, the Deputy Accountant General for Assaults and Regional Development, in an investigation into the alleged embezzlement of millions in public funds. Investigators seized title deeds, logbooks, and other crucial documents believed to be linked to a corruption scheme. Mutwiri was later escorted to his office in Nairobi Central Business District, where a second search was conducted before he was taken to the EACC's Integrity Center to record a statement. Mutwiri is alleged to be behind a controversial construction project in Meru, allegedly registered under the disguised client name OMN. EACC officers also conducted a 4-hour search at the premises of Kenya Tours, believed to be linked to the probe. During the operation, investigators recovered more than 3.5 million Kenya shillings.
Yeah, guys, when we see such pictures, when some people are really struggling, we are literally struggling. You know, you have to go for small loans. Sometimes you have to keep topping them up to even build one house. But there are fellas out there who are raising story buildings. And that is why sometimes when I travel across Nairobi, Mombasa, I look at some buildings that are rising so fast and ask myself, why is it that I'm struggling this much and some people are getting it easy to do projects with ease? I don't mean to say that everybody who is doing it is looting, but there is actually a high level of looting in our country. And look at this money. Just look at this. Can you imagine that somebody can have all this when in your own house maybe you cannot even afford 1,000 shillings just in your bank pot or something like that? You can't even open your drawer and find 2,000 Kenyan shillings there. Yet there are people who are out there with a lot of money. Now, when you talk about embezzlement, actually there is a time, the change of notes. We were forced to change notes from the old 1,000 Kenyan shillings to the current one because of such scenarios. It was indicated that there were so many people who had stashed money in their mattresses and sacks in their houses. And of course, I'm checking at the recent when they decided to rain on people within the government after the president complained about people having received a bribe and not distributing it. So we saw the invasion to the speaker's home, and we heard that they are also going to rain on Ichungwa, something that we have not seen so far since then. And my question is, do we have some people who are scot-free from these allegations and stealing, and some who have to continue. I look at Murkomen, for example, and I've also been looking at Farouk, among others. When you look at the kind of life they really managed to host, and also the fact that so many political leaders are going into places and handing over 50 million, 20 million to churches, I don't actually have a problem with them financing churches, but what is the source of their money? This is something we are not being told. But now, out of graft, we have to see some few cases coming out to cover up and show as if maybe ESCC is really working. I don't blame ESCC, but then what I just want to know is, if really they decided to recover the money and the things that have been acquired through embezzlement and the swindling and corruption aspect, then we would have so much, even from head of institutions like the principals and all that. We have some of them who are looting, not all of them, but some of them who are looting even in schools. Anyway, let's follow the story and see what they'll have to tell us.
Alongside what they described as crucial evidence, the company's directors, including Dixon Meyer, were taken in to provide statements separately. Senior Assistant Commissioner of Sports Caroline Mudhoni Kariuki also recorded a statement over similar allegations of graft. Also sought as a person of interest is Maureen Wangoi Wambogo, the director of Smart Flows Travel Limited. EACC has said that upon completion of investigations, any individual found culpable will be forwarded to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, or DPP, for possible criminal charges. Ben Kiroi, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
So that was actually a case that was shown to us yesterday, and I've been analyzing, actually slowly going through and understanding. The graft cases in Kenya must be so many, because recently we heard about what I've just mentioned, and we've also seen the cases of Governor Kericho, for example. We saw another one, Governor Busia, and we've had so many other, like even the Governor Isiolo. What has happened to these people? Because, of course, from the reports, they have already looted a lot, but there is nothing that has been said since then. We saw investigations going on, but they went quiet. And some of these are what encourages individuals to keep stealing. Because the reason why corruption can never end in Kenya, it's because of we have a systematized way of making it look like it's okay, and also a very long legislative process that kills or suffocates the process itself. Sometimes left and right until even evidence is done away with, or witnesses are done away with. So we also have fear from whistleblowers, because they are not protected so well in a manner that they can come up with information and share. Then the network of corruption actually goes through so many hands. You can see the case of the people in the Ministry of Sports, for example. And I think we heard about this corrupt situation when there was the games were going on at Kasarani, and we kept asking what's going on. It went dead and now it has surfaced. But then when they say only 5 million shillings was retrieved, I am actually asking myself a lot of questions. What if maybe those who are collecting had to hide some evidence for themselves? Because really, like out of all this case and 2 departments, are they sure that the only money that can be retrieved is 5 million Kenyan shillings? Anyway, away from that, it's so sad that in January parents are going to face a sad moment, because now free education seems to be slowly and surely scrapped away. And we heard this from long ago, that the government is planning to do away with free primary and secondary education, and it has landed. Because I looked at the other day when fee payment was raised to 53,554 for all schools as tuition fee for senior schools. And I thought that this is going to be very painful for the parent, because many parents who have been having children in public school, even senior, junior secondary, they have been having a free way, maybe paying 2,000 a year, or maybe 3, maximum 5,000. But now they are going to move from 5,000 to 53,554. And as I've shared already, a lot of people in Kenya are suffocated. Business and business is not doing well, because sometimes you take goods to the markets, people don't have money, so they go for necessities only. When it comes to businesses like timber or books, people will only go for what is really necessary. So people are not doing purchases as much. Hello, Oluwadidi Adepoju, welcome. Hello, thank you so much for showing up on the channel. I appreciate your presence, and I really appreciate all of you for your love and your support. May God bless you in your endeavors. It's quite good that you are supporting me big time. We are into 15 minutes and we are planning to go for 1 hour. Welcome, welcome as we go through the analysis of both Kenya and so many other nations. Oliwa Dudu, I'm so fine. Odepoju, I'm so fine. I hope you're also fine. So can you imagine? The government has set 53,544 as a fee to be paid by any parent who takes their child to a boarding senior school. Some parents have been literally paying 5,000 at junior school. And then when you go to other schools like boarding schools, some have been 20-something, 30-something, 40-something. Now, the lowest fee will be 53,000. Can you imagine for low level, Kenyan? Let's say a peasant farmer, how are they going to afford to pay such a fee? Christopher Toba, welcome, welcome. Now, today we had another bombshell yesterday. Now, the government slashed capitation for free day school from 22,244 per learner to 12,870. And guys, you remember when Buddy came out to share details about the fact that the nation or the government does not have money to sponsor education? What did our president tell Mbadi? The president came out and said that Mbadi should not create fear in people, and literally government has money allocated for education, so they should calm down. But I sensed a lot of danger, because nothing comes out of the government as a rumor. It is always something discussed on a table, and only that maybe one person decides to rashly submit it to the citizens. And when we heard that, I said, yeah, I remember I did a video on Life Saga TV and reminded parents that they should now brace for a hard time in the forthcoming life. Now, Subless TV Kenya, welcome. Now, people are currently complaining that women are no longer bearing. Why do people want women to bear children when this will be the result in future? Like, I would imagine if I have 5 children. Sir Bless TV says, Sir, Bless watching live from Mombasa. How is Mombasa? I miss Mombasa a lot. I used to stay in Mombasa, Hamisi. I taught Hamisi boys. I stayed around Makupa there before I relocated and to Taita Taveta, then later to other places. So Mombasa weather is so fine. I really wish to go there for a holiday. Let me hope that I'll collect enough moolah one day and go there for a holiday. So bless, Sir Bless, thank you so much for watching from Mombasa. And anybody else watching, please, if you have not subscribed to the channel, consider subscribing, because we are here to stay. And we are going to do analysis every day on Kenyan news, Nigerian news, Tanzanian news, Algeria news, and the US, among others. Recently, we did something on US on Dangote. I hope you watched. And of course, we are going to do something to do with global housing, to analyze situations of Jamaica, Kenya, and many other nations. So welcome, welcome. Let's proceed to talk about free education and what has happened. Of course, as I've said, this is something that was leaked. I think it was about June. Mbadi leaked it out, and I wish I get those videos when Mbadi was saying that there is no enough money on no funding for schools. Let me just check on that video. And I am surprised the government came up to reject that. And here it is. I think this is the video here when Mbadi was sharing this. And I came up with a video and said that indeed Mbadi has said that the government can no longer sustain the government can no longer sustain education, free education. You remember?
The debate over school capitation is raging, with parents expressing concern about that to meet the full capitation requirement, all education funds, including NGCDF, will continue the work started by past presidents.
Na hatuwezi kukubali ati turudi nyuma. Mambo ya elimu ya msingi, mambo ya elimu katika sekondari itaendelea kuwa vile ilikuwa, na tutaiendelea hata kuiboresha hata zaidi.
However, opposition leaders have
Yeah, so this was Kindiki. Kindiki actually came out to challenge Mbadi after Mbadi had stood up on a podium to share that the government is not able to sustain education. You remember this moment when he was talking here? Let's just check on this.
2,000 shillings per secondary school student, managing only 60. The education committee,
because of chemis or nemis, it's a big challenge, so that schools are operating on deficit. Many students who are in those schools are not getting what they are supposed to get.
The ministry is currently, as I've said, developing the chemis system to collect, manage and analyze education-related data from basic education to tertiary education to ensure efficiency.
The revelation comes just days after the Auditor General revealed that public funds were paid to non-existent schools last year. Education Cabinet Secretary Migoso Gamba was on the receiving end.
For example, we talk about Bomet High School, received 50 million. Bomet High School does not exist, but you send this money through Tenwek. Huge figures have been allocated to certain specific schools in specific regions, including allocating resources to ghost schools that do not exist.
You have the directors, you have the sub-county.
So the reality is that, okay, while Mbadi came up to say that they can no longer sustain free education, it was so annoying that some schools actually were receiving money yet they do not exist, which meant there was somebody receiving that money. Let's just look at this. And of course, many schools now came up to think of revising. And I think currently, be sure that even national schools are not going to maintain the fee they have been actually allowing parents to pay. They are going to hike the fee. That's the reality. That's how it happens. You know, the moment the government raises the amount to 52,544 for even sub-county boarding schools, county boarding schools, now the other national schools are going to hike their fee. If it was 90,000, it will go to 100 or more. If it was 80,000, it's going to 90 or more. If it was 60,000, it's going to 80 or more, unfortunately. So let's see Mbadi giving a statement 3 months ago. And you remember I did an analysis on this. I don't know whether you remember me talking about this.
We deal with the corruption because we have a fiscal space that is shrinking by the day. And again, also, we have clients, a population of this country who are calling for more accountability and transparency.
EACC is also probing the mismanagement of capitation funds and leading to the law.
Yeah, so of course, EACC, that is why you saw me when I started with the first news of EACC. EACC 3 months ago was probing into the aspect of ghost schools and what have you. Now, before they have come to a conclusion or given us information about what they did, we already see the change of events and the fact that now the parent has to carry the burden. Okay? CBC Kenya says Mbadi always giving contradictory information. But I think CBC Kenya, I think Mbadi gave the right information, but Kindiki is the one who came out to contradict. You know, he just revealed what the government has finally done, because why has the government finally placed the burden on parents? It's because that time Mbadi shared out and said that they don't have money, they don't have school capitation money to give. that the money will actually be going lower. And you realize that Kindiki stood up and said that no, there's no problem, they are still going to make it better. But are they making it better? No, they are making it worse, because I just suspect next year we'll have a problem. So many students will not be able to transition from junior secondary to senior secondary. That is the reality, because life is so tough currently. I am a civil servant, but I cannot even afford to pay 54,000 Kenyan shillings in a fee. After maybe I took a loan, I started a project that has stalled. Unless I struggle so much finish my projects, especially if it's real estate, for example, then people stay in my houses, pay me rent, and then out of that, I pay fee. Or maybe I raise animals and luckily enough manage to, run my projects like the geese that I'm doing or all that. And they run positively so that I can pay. Or else, do you want to tell me that parents will actually sacrifice all their maize or harvest and manage to pay this fee? And remember, when a child is going to another level, you have to buy uniforms, you have to buy, boxes, you have to buy a mattress, you have to buy everything new. So this means that a parent should have maybe 100,000 in January or something, a figure to that level, to be able to transition their child from senior secondary or senior school to senior secondary. So it's so contradictory. Of course, the government is actually confusing us and also messing us up, but it has happened because as they have said, there is no more capitation to the level that we are expecting. Now, if they've slashed 22,224 up to 12,870, it means they have reduced almost by half. So automatically, if a day school was making us pay, let's say, 20,000, they are going to add a fee of 10,000 so that it goes to 30,000. If a day school was making us pay 14,000, they are going to make it 24,000. If a day school was 10,000, it's going to 20,000, so that the capitation that has been left, 12,870, will cover for the rest. Anyway, let's listen to this so that it doesn't look like rumors. But from the news, this is what we have got from yesterday.
Kenya will launch its final phase of the competency-based education system, senior school. But behind the transition lies a financial twist, one that parents say they didn't see coming. For years, day school education has been promoted as the country's most affordable option, one often described as free. But now, under new Ministry of Education guidelines, day school parents will pay 9,374 shillings in annual fee, as government capitation drops from 22,244 shillings per learner for free day secondary education to 12,870 shillings, a reduction of nearly 43%.
First, from Limo Bora's standpoint, we are thoroughly embarrassed. And the embarrassment arises from so many things. One, the Ministry of Education just decides that each and every time they want to make a serious decision, they just surprise everybody else. They don't follow the law, they don't consult anyone, they just air it out there, and that is a fait accompli. You either pay or your children remain out. And this is contrary to the spirit and the letter of the Constitution of Kenya 2010. Article 43, for example, guarantees the right to education. And Article 53 talks about the right of every child to free and compulsory basic education. So from that standpoint, the decisions that the ministry is now broadcasting to the public is a decision which is ill-informed, ultra-vires the law, and counter even to the Kenya Kwanza's promise
manifesto
when
and
they
promise
made to Kenyans that they would actually review some of these things, including the CBC.
Yeah, so the reality is that it's quite controversial to what we saw the government promising the citizens. And that is why most times I'm here talking about politics, so that we don't just listen to the verbal, discourse of the politicians. We have to look beyond the verbal discourse, because if we have selfish leaders who are out to actually gain, and they have this urge, there is the vicious desire to gain so much. Leaders who want even to put on a watch worth millions, shoes worth millions. How do you expect these leaders to sustain that kind of life? So automatically they are going to create porous, gaps within whichever institutions they lead. And at the end of the day, they'll sit down, discuss, and bring down some things maybe which they are subsidizing. You remember we actually had subsidization of electricity. Currently, it's not there, you know. High on data bundles. Currently, it's there. We didn't have so much taxation also on fuel. Now it's there. So this has actually suffocated the normal Kenyan. Maybe the rich would not see that. The wealthy people may not see that, but those people at middle level and the low class, they actually feel the impact, because there are literally people out there who can't make even 50 shillings a day. Literally, they can't. And they are going to be forced to pay. You can't tell me that day school will now charge 9,000 Kenyan shillings. Currently, we have day schools which are charging more than that, because most of them say food is expensive. And of course, somehow I agree with them. When you talk about food even in your house, you actually, when you have children over the holiday like this, if you sit down and see how much you're going to buy for the kids to survive for December and November, you will realize that schools have a task. And if they don't charge that, how do they pay the workers in their institutions? How do they, for example, manage to feed the kids? So the fees is not going to be 9,000. That's the reality. Day schools are not going to charge 9,000. They'll charge more than that, because even currently, as they were being subsidized 22,000, some schools are making us pay 14,000 Kenyan shillings. And so, because I have orphans, I normally sponsor here and there, and some of them study in day schools, and I've been paying 14,000 for some of them. So you don't tell me that after it has been lowered to 12,000 capitation, the schools are going to charge 9,000. That's not the reality. Nicholas Mundui, welcome to the house. Thank you so much for coming in. Kimani Njuguna, welcome to the house. So the reality is that life is going to be tough. And that is why I don't agree with someone telling us that women should bear more children. Even when they blame that the current generation don't want to bear, it's just because of life. You cannot go bringing to the world so many kids when the responsibility squarely sits on the citizen and not the government. And even if our tax is being collected, at the end of the day, someone maybe is just collecting it for their pockets. Because look at this, and I'll talk about it. Affordable housing, for example. Do you understand the network behind affordable housing? Maybe I'll be doing a video tomorrow to talk about this, and who is the beneficiary at the end of the day. But anyway, the aspect of slashing capitation on a free day school education from 22,244 to 12,870, and also making a minimum pay for all senior schools to be 54,544. It's such a slap in the face of Kenyans, and the reality is going to be so hard on everybody. So let's proceed now to Tanzania situation. Of course, Tanzania borders currently, even though yesterday Tanzania said that things are coming in order, and they are opening up the internet and so many other things, and even the lockdown, or rather what they were calling a kind of restriction on movement, was steadily open. However, there are still some problems at the borders, and we also have shocking realities about what is happening in Tanzania. So some of the footages that are shocking are coming in. And one of them, I want you to look at this and see how brutal the army of Tanzania are handling people, especially at night. Even though lockdowns have been stopped, but this is happening. And I want you to just look at this. So when you look at such a video actually from Tanzania, it's so annoying, it is so dehumanizing, it's so it's a situation that is not good at all, but things are just showing us how much Suluhu Samia is completely crazy. And also the army itself is very brutal. You know, in Kenya, it happens that we have seen demonstrations, people being molested here and there, but the level at which Tanzania has gone is just too much. And also I want to share something I saw on Ikonini. It was being shared, and the reality is that some footages, we can't even share them here. You know, there are some footages that are happening to come out from Tanzania, and people, for example, scattered on the streets, like 3 bodies just laying on the streets, like people are just shot by the army. Yeah, we have others in which they get to a house and find people in a house, then they just shoot all of them if they believe they did not support the Chama cha Mapinduzi. So that is more of a, I don't know whether it's even assassination. How do we call this? You know, it's just beyond. I can't even define what it is. But looking at the situation in Tanzania and the happenings around there, it's quite sad. It's quite sad. So, of course, people are trying to urge Kenyans to calm down, as of late it's indicated that Ruto had to force Mudavadi to check out and talk to Suluhu about abductions and the missing Kenyans. But I don't think there's much that will be done, because even before the demonstrations, Tanzania was not actually very friendly with Kenyans, and we saw what happened to Martha Karua, Babu Owino, and Boniface Mwangi. So I don't think even if Mudavadi goes there, he will really save a situation as much. I don't think so. So it's just unfortunate, but what is happening at Namanga borders is so bad for some people. I want to check on a video here. There was a video here showing that. What's happening? And the bad thing is that AU, our union that we really hang on, just came out to give a report later. And they began to reveal that there was manipulation in Tanzania election. There was sticking of ballot papers beforehand. Some observers were sent out of rooms. I don't know why they had to say this later. And also, the chair of AU chairman, Mahmoud Yusuf, had to reject the congratulatory message of Suluhu's win. But yet, he's already inaugurated, so I don't know what this kind of retrieval was serving. I don't see what it was serving. So let me check on this.
Hello. Seriously? Uliniambia plot iko ready. Iko ready. Ni squatter tu. Usio vile. Border checks have intensified, especially
At the Namanga border post, calm has returned, but for business operators here, things are far from normal.
Hapa tumeshuhudia mambo hayako mazuri vile. Maana tulivurugwa na askari wa Tanzania. Wale wakapiga rutianga zakapiga wengine marisasi. Sasa tunaona biashara zinaanza kurudi. Japo sio vile.
Border checks have intensified, especially for Kenyans crossing into Tanzania. Traders who previously relied on fuel and supplies from across the border say the tightened regulations are punitive, a ripple effect of the recent unrest sparked by Tanzania's disputed presidential election.
Inatuadhiri kiasi kikubwa kwa sababu wengine wako hospitalini na wengine wakati huo magari zao wamechomwa na wengine wako hospitali na wengine hata leo walikuwa wanazungushwa picha yao hapa Namanga, ni kwa sababu ya hiyo maandamano ya Tanzania. Huwa tunatumia sana mafuta pale Tanzania kutumia ya mapikipiki ama ya magari, lakini kwa saa hii tunapitia changamoto sana bila kuwa na hiyo ushirika.
All right, guys, so we were proceeding before the weather changed and we had to deal with other things before proceeding, so bear with us. I can see someone asking here, no video. That is the Dumela Africa. Saleh Tesema, welcome. So let's proceed anyway, but we are just finishing with Tanzania and we are almost at the end. We may not take a lot of time. So of course AU slammed the Tanzanian election, but I don't know why they took so long to slam it. They should have done earlier. So it's unfortunate sometimes that when we rely on some bodies to save our situation, they take too long to act on it. Let's check on this.
In the wake.
So of course that is a picture that has been shown so much, but I want to get to something. I saw a very high profile discussion, and away from that we have videos we can't show because videos that are extremely showing death are not supposed to be shown to the public as much, and therefore because of unfiltered videos we can't show all of them. We just show those that are safe for consumption, because there are some people who can be traumatized out of that. And also, what does it show about you know, ourselves as channels?
The votes. What are you afraid of? Kuna maboy walienda watch TV. Alafu as they were watching TV, they are not protesting.
Yeah, so of course some of the footages that I may not show here, there were 3 boys who were watching TV, and while in the house the military actually had to invade. And sorry for that. So when they invaded their houses, what they did, they had to shoot all of them, you know, and carry them to the streets, which is unfortunate. We also saw a situation of rooms where they could invade and shoot. We may not also show those footages. Yeah. So the kind of military, I don't know. I always believe that Tanzanians are so kind, you know, and have a lot of courtesy. From our history, we know that even the Tanzanian police will ask you, you know, politely questions before they arrest you. But it was so unfortunate to see what happened during this moment in Tanzania. Yeah, very unfortunate. So we are coming to an end, and we are still praying for Tanzania, hoping for the best, and then we'll come back for another video.
Ingine leo wanaingia kwa hao wanadidisha msee moja, wanaacha mkiscream wanaenda place ingine. You see, kama ile kina baby pedo, they entered the house wakadidisha mtoi wa user mpaka wetafuta ile button imeandikwa get.